All right, y'all. We give praise, esteem, and honor to the living Alahym in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. We pick this up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they which testify me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from you, I know you, that you have not the love of Alahym in you. I come in my Abba's name, you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe but receive honor one from another and not the honor that comes from Alahym only? Do not think that I will accuse you. Abba, there's one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Had to believe Moses, you would have believed me before he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? Praise be to the living Alahym in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Let's get over here to Isaiah 28. I'll start at verse 9, but our focal point will be a little further down. Because I told you we're going to deal with the totality of the chapter since we in there. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Isaiah 28:9. Whom shall he teach knowledge? Whom shall he make to understand tidings? Weaned from the milk, drawn from the breast. Precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. Here a little, there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. To whom he said, this the rest, you may cause the weary to rest. This the refreshing, yet they would not hear. But the word of Yahuwah was unto them precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, that they might go. Because you have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell we are at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass, it shall not come unto us. We have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. Therefore, thus saith Alahym, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation of stone, a tried stone, a precious corner, a sure foundation. He that believes shall not make haste. I want you to come on down, drop yourself down. Give ear, give you ear. Hear my voice, hearken, hear my speech. Do the plowman plow all day to sow? Do he open and break the clods of his ground? When he have made plain the face thereof, do he cast not abroad the fitches, scatter the cumin, and cast in the principal wheat, and appointed barley and rye in their place? For Alahym do instruct him to discretion, and do teach him. But the fitches are beaten out with staff, and the cumin with a rod. Of his cart, nor bruise it his horsemen. This also come forth from Yahuwah of hosts, is wonderful in counsel, excellent in working. So let's begin then. Let's look at verse 26 and let's take a look. Before we can go back to anything in verses 14 on down, we need to come over here, right? We need to come to instruct. We need to sit back and look at discretion and teaching, all of those things. First thing with instruct, yasar, a word that you know, to chasten, to discipline, to instruct, to admonish, yad, samak, and rash. So you definitely want to grab hold to the right hand of the highest. That would be your best bet, to grab hold to the right hand of the highest. Now, that's what you get when you're dealing with instruct. Now you're going to come to discretion, a word you already know, that's mishpat. So now you have your judgment, your ability to decide what is right and wrong. Takes us back to what we discussed on the Shabbat when we were talking about line upon line, or just weight and a just balance. We ended with that on the Shabbat. You got to have a just weight and a just balance. You have to have the ability to know how to judge properly and to weigh it evenly in the balance according to the righteousness of Alahym, because there is no respect of persons in judgment. All judgment must be done in equity. Continuing on, and then you have teach him, which is Yerah. And in that instance, it is a direct to instruct and to teach, Yad, Rosh, and Hay. So now you can behold the right hand of the highest. You know what I'm talking about? You want to grab hold to the right hand of the highest in order to be chastened and disciplined. And you want to be able to see the right hand of the highest, shalom, man, in order to be instructed. These things are necessary. They are vital. It takes us back to whom will he calls to understand doctrine. Whom is he going to teach knowledge to? Who is the knowledge of Alahym going to go to? See, you can't be, let me put it to you this way. Let's go on and get to Hebrews 6, man. Don't even cut no comments with it. I'm sorry, it's not here. It's Hebrews 11. Actually, it's 12. I'm all off base. That's my fault. Actually, it's Hebrews 12. We pick it up at 12 and 1. See, this is important, and this is something that most brews don't want to have. See, you can't even begin to understand tidings if you have not been chastened and disciplined. You know what I'm talking about? See, if you've grabbed hold to the right hand of the highest, that means you suffered with him. You've been chastened with him. Therefore, he can give you insight into the good tidings. Because remember, he said it behooved Mashiach that he should suffer and rise from the dead the third day. So you can't even begin to understand that good news if you have not come under the chastening or the rod of the living Alahym. That is impossible. That's why he say to spare the rod and you're going to spoil the child. You know, black people love to run with it. Come over here to Proverbs with it. You can hold Hebrews 12. Come over here to Proverbs with it. I'm trying to remember what it's saying. No, that's not the one. That's not. Because, you know, black people love to say that when they're as a reason why they beat the brakes off them children. And you ain't got to beat them children like that. No, I got 19 and 18. Well, come over here to Proverbs 19 and 18 for a moment. I'm trying to remember that. I'm trying to escape it. Black people love to tell you, don't spare that rod now. You got to go ahead. And it's just really with correction. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily you got to beat the baby. Sometimes you got to go ahead and go upside his head. You can get your Proverbs 19 and 16, Proverbs 13 and 24, Proverbs 22. We'll deal with all of them. I get every last one of them. You get a full course of understanding, because if we're going to talk about his Alahym to instruct him, and we talking about Mashiach, then we have to go forth to show how he chastened his son and instructed him. Proverbs 19 and 18, chasten your son while there is hope. Let not your soul spare for his crying. For those of you who've been around here for a long season, you saw the same word that you've seen for instruct. Shalom, Brother Ellis. You've seen that already. So when you sit back and look at it, y'all know what this is. This is my Alahym, why have you forsaken me? He did not spare his son because he was crying. You understand? When you look at spare, that's Nasa, that's his to support or to sustain or to be taken away or carried off, to bear continuously, to lift oneself up, or to cause one to bear iniquity, or to have spare him or lift up himself to deliver him, even though he cried, because it was for that benefit. He had to be chastened. Like that, you must chasten your son as the law instruct you to. And that's what you see in Isaiah 28. So let's come over here to Proverbs 13 and 24. These are verses that we all familiar with. You know, black people like to go in the word and find stuff that support what they got going on. Say, he that spared his rod hate his son, but he that love him chasten him B times. Now I'm going to share with you B times. B times is Shakar, Shan, Ka, and Raj. You understand? You're paired to the separation of the highest. It's to seek early, to earnestly look early, diligent, to seek diligently, to seek early, to inquire. Now, come over back to Hebrews 12, as you're holding it, Proverbs 13 and 24, and think about what it says. He that loves him chastens him early. And again, remember what chasten is. Chasten here is musar, which you know is to correct. See, the chastening is not always about physical or what they like to call corporal punishment. It's the correction. See, this you have to always understand. What good is the use of chastening if the child does not understand what and why they're being corrected for, to be better for the chastening. You shouldn't chasten just for the sake of chastening. The chastening is to correct behavior so they can be better for it and not participate in things that can be damaging to them. Nevertheless, Hebrews 12:1. Wherefore, seeing we are also encompassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which do easily beset. Let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Yahushua, the author and finisher of faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the stake, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Alahym. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest you be weary and faint in your mind. See, this is one of the biggest things that people never understand. In order to correct you, he went against his own self. So we ain't got no business falling out and passing out and nothing that you go through in life, because it's not going to compare to what he endured. You should be able to lean on him through the comfort and promises of his word and endure through anything. You know what I'm saying? Didn't say it'd be easy, but you should be able to do so. Verse 4, you have not yet resisted under blood, striving against sin. You have forgotten the exhortation which speak unto you as unto children. My son, despise not you the chastening of Yahuwah, nor faint when you are rebuked of him. For whom Yahuwah love, he chastened, and he scourged every son whom he received. Remember, he say his Alahym do instruct him. So his power, his mighty one has corrected him. You understand? This is how he's able to teach him knowledge. This is how he's able to understand doctrine. This is how he's able to be weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast to be able to put command on command and weigh rightfully in the balance, here a little, there a little, in order to disannul your covenant with death. You understand? See, you're not going to be able to do that without any of these elements. See, that's what all these brews be forgetting about. That's what they don't want to talk about. That's what they don't want to deal with. Or people who want to talk down on the word and all this other stuff. And you have to always remember, these people lack understanding. And there's no searching for Alahym's understanding. You can't forget that. See, we be forgetting that because you get in your feelings about it. And you have to remember, these people are evil, man. And it just is what it is. I don't care if they profess the faith or not. A lot of people are just evil. When we talk about evil, we're talking about completely disagreeable. That's it. We're talking about completely disagreeable. Proverbs 22:15. Most people are completely disagreeable. Most people don't even know what love is, have never experienced it, have never seen it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Don't know what it is. So it's hard for them to fathom it. Most people want a love that stimulates their emotions, that justifies them in the inward parts. Most people don't know what love. It's like this here, right? You can't talk about love if you've never shown it. See, when we look at most brews, we think showing love is giving to somebody who's lesser. Don't you know wicked people give to poor people every day? You think that means they got love in their heart? Remember what Yahushua said to them people when he said, when Judas was like complaining about that stuff, he was like, man, he didn't care about the poor. He was a thief. He said, man, this stuff could have been given to the poor. He didn't care about them people. You know what I'm saying? See, we get easily fooled by stuff like that because we love outward appearances of things versus the inward manifestation of righteousness outwardly. Y'all know the place I'm talking about? When Judas was complaining about, see, come over here to John chapter 12, because I feel like somebody don't know what I'm talking about. It's not John 12. Yeah, John 12. I'm tripping. I'm looking right at it too on top of that, so that make it even worse. John 12:1. Then Yahushua 6 days before Passover came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, no doubt, whom he raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Then took Mary, a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Yahushua and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. Then say one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's, which should betray him, why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief and had the bag and bare what was put therein. You know what I'm talking about? Now I'm just mentioning that here just on the outward, right? On the outward, if you heard him say that, you would think, man, he got love in his heart because he thinking about the poor. Whole time he was plotting on how to steal. You know what I'm talking about? Whole time he was plotting on how to steal. See, I've told y'all this for years, right? And I'm gonna tell you right, it ain't a lot of stuff that I vocally say, hey man, I ain't fooling with you about. But one of them is this here, man. Well, if you have the unmitigated gall to take a camera and show yourself feeding poor people and giving clothes to poor people, man, get from around me, bro. You know what I'm talking about? I ain't even on that. Because number one, if you ever been hungry and you've been poor, that's very demeaning. You know what I'm talking about? You using me as a means to elevate yourself. I told you for years, my personal perspective, when people be like, it feels good to help people who without, that means that you did that for your own ego, your own sense of self-importance and self-righteousness. You didn't do it for them people. You know what I'm talking about? Why do I say that? Because, man, if you know them people hungry, it's mercy that's going to move you to do it. Because if you was hungry, you want somebody to feed you too, especially if you've been hungry before. So you've been in a place, so you understand that. So it should be easier for you to have mercy on them. You know what I'm talking about? That's what I look at. I'm talking about stuff I done heard my whole life. I just feel good when I do X, Y, Z. Why that make you feel good, my nigga? Why didn't you just do it? Because that's just what needed to be done. The person was hungry, you fed them. It shouldn't have thought nothing about it. What should make you feel good is if this person gave thanks and praise to Alahym and that redounded under heaven, and that's an unspeakable gift to have the ability to perform an act that allows praise and esteem to go back to him. And not that you felt good because you did something, but that you feel good that your Alahym is praised. And prayerfully, maybe a soul will seek after him and deliver themselves. But see, we don't have that type of thought process because we're too damn selfish. You know what I'm talking about? Self-centered, self-aggrandizers, and emotional people who need emotional rushes from things instead of just being a just, upright, caring, and merciful people. So we like to flourish. That's why you see all these brews always talking about love, ain't got no love in their heart. That's why you hear brews always talking about the fruit of the spirit and ain't got no spirit to be able to have no fruit of. You know what I'm talking about? Because it's either to try to talk about it or give what's the word I'm looking for? A momentary display of these attributes, then that actually be your character and how you conduct yourself on a day in, day out basis, irregardless of situations and circumstances. Nevertheless, I read verse 7 on general principle. Then said Yahushua, let her alone against the day of my bearing, have she kept this. For the poor always you have with you. But me, you have not always. Do any of you know why he said you will always have the poor? Do any of you know that? It's in the law also. Do you know why he said you will always have the poor? Can anyone fill me in on that? Do any of you know why he said the poor you will always have? Doc McStuffin, here, come take this to your mom. Somebody got to know. Y'all pretty astute. Oh, y'all don't know? Come on, man. Somebody got to give me something. I got time too, cuz. I got time. I need somebody. Anybody. Here's another passage dealing with rebuke that's in my mind. Oh, no, sir. No, sir. No, sir. That's not the one. I understand. I know what you're talking about, but that's not the one. Come on, man. I need somebody can roll. One more person roll the dice. They don't got it. We'll move on. But I know somebody got to know. I'm confident in the fact. Darius is referring to when he said to leave grapes on the tree for when the poor walk past and they need something to eat that they can pluck it, which is what you've seen in that Matthew 12 with Mashiach then walking through the cornfields. That's why they were able to do that. Oh, that don't tell me nothing there, baby. That's just a book. Now, you know, if one of your students would have answered you like that, you wasn't going to let that, you was not going to let them slide. Very well, sir. Deuteronomy 15 and 11. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command you, saying, you shall open your hand wide unto your brother, to your poor and to your needy in the land. This is why he said this is why Mashiach said the stuff he said about, lend and seek not again. And if you have a feast, call your poor neighbors. Notice the first thing that he said is unto your brother. See, that what goes back to that you should do well under all men, especially they of the household of the faith. That's why Paul can make that statement, because your first obligation to help is to your brother. Who is your brother? But he that do the will of Alahym. That's your first obligation. You know what I'm talking about? Then, of course, the poor and the needy in the land. But your first obligation is to the people in the faith. See, this is a thing that a lot of people in the faith don't look at. It's all good if you want to go out in the street and feed homeless people. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But will you have that same level of swiftness and mercy for somebody who proclaims the same hope as you do? And most brews are not swift to do that. Oh, no, I mean, the poor ain't never going to cease out the land because, truth be told, doctrine-wise, because Yahuwah lead the poor in the land to prove men. That's what they're there for. It's simply to prove men. Like when he say, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. It's to prove men. Remember the verse that say, he that giveth to the poor lend to his maker. That's why Yahushua say that in Matthew 25. You understand? So that's what the poor are there for. They're to prove men. Do you have the level of mercy that you claim that you possess? Will mercy rejoice against judgment because you show mercy? You know what I'm saying? Or like what he said in Psalms 18, he showed himself merciful to those who are merciful. Will individuals do that? Because if nobody was poor, then there would be no means for anyone to show mercy except if they had been angry. But can you show mercy to somebody when they're without? Most people can't. Most people worry about getting scammed. And I get that, especially with social media. It's a little different. It's easy to get scammed because everybody got a scam. Everybody in your inbox, everybody email, everybody doing this and doing that. But he told you to lend and seek for nothing again because he'll pay you back. If he don't pay you back now, he'll pay you back at the resurrection of the dead. But I've always told you this is the element that I live by my entire life. You don't loan nobody nothing. You give it to them. If they pay you back, fine. If they don't, fine. And you don't give people what you can't stand to lose. You know what I'm saying? It's just that simple. See, you give people stuff that you can't stand to lose. That's why you get upset when they don't pay you back. You should have just said, I don't have it. You know what I'm talking about? If you go into it on, I'm giving you this. So whether you pay me back or not, I don't care because I gave you this. I'm not telling you I gave you this. Sometimes you ain't even got to tell nobody that. You know what I'm talking about? But at the end of the day, don't give what you can't stand to lose, because that's where the frustration is. And that's where we come with, again, we have to go from the separate of nigger thought and godly thought. That's where, that's the principle come in that. Where the principle was somebody was in need, I thought the principle was to help somebody who was in need. You know what I'm talking about? That's the principle of the matter. If somebody took advantage of you, then guess what that means? That means that you don't have to deal with them in that capacity. They cut themselves off from you in that capacity for whatever amount that you had given unto them. That's a loss for them. That's all it took for you to get them out your life. Consider yourself saved of an extensive amount of resources, consternation, frustration, and anything else that you can think of because you have removed this person out of your life. You know what I'm talking about? Sometimes it can be as little as $5. Sometimes it can be as much as $10,000, but either way, you got rid of it. And go ahead and get them lights up for me, please. Come on back over here to Hebrews. Is it Hebrews? No, we're in Proverbs 22. Yeah, man. We kind of overlook that, man. How else would we know if we the people we say we are, if ain't nobody there to try you? Just like he say that the wicked are thorns to try a man's heart, the poor the same way. It's the same way.